Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to do the mid-year freakout tag. I've seen this going all over the place. So I've seen Sarah's video on it. I've seen Larry's video on it. T did a video on it. So I just wanted to jump in and submit my video on it because I've never done a tag video that has to do with BookTube. So the first question on the, I have it here up on my iPad. The first question on the list is the best book you've read so far, and that has to be I Must Betray You by Ruta Septis. I think that's how you say the name. This book just impacted me so much. Not only does it tell the story of communism in Romania, it just opens your eyes to what communism can do to a country. And when you allow the government to control your lives more and more, it leads to what these people went through. And just the impacts and everything that it had on me was just so good. It just opened my eyes. I had no idea about this story. They do not talk about this. At least when I was in school, they did not talk about this. I feel like this should be in the history books. They should be talking about this in school. I feel like this is a book that they should make you read in school and everything. I really do. So if you have kids that are in middle school or high school, I definitely recommend you have them read this book. It is so good. It is historical fiction, but it's based off of real events of things that really happened. And it takes place in the 80s. Romania, 1989. So it was Romania in the 80s. And you wouldn't think that they were under control and all that being in the 80s. But wow, this was just so impactful, and it has a lot of allegories to things that are happening today, not only for Christians but for just this country in general. There's just been so many good quotes in this. I checked this out from my library, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this book tag, so I could hold up the physical book and show it to you, because I already know. I don't know if there's going to be another book that I read that's going to impact me more this year, but this one has impacted me the most, and it has just been like, wow. I'm so glad I checked this out of my library and read it. But yeah. This has just been so eye-opening and so good. And if you haven't read this book, I recommend you to go read it because it is so good. And I'm so glad that I read it this year. So that is definitely my favorite book of 2023. Hey, it says the best sequel you've read so far in 2023. I am going to pop up pictures here because I did not go collect all of my books. But the best sequel that I think I've read in 2023 is, I guess we have to go with Sarah J. Maas, because I've been reading the Throne of Glass series and Crown of Midnight. That book, at the time I was reading Crown of Midnight, I was reading so many other books along with it. And all I wanted to do was read Crown of Midnight. But I had art books and everything else that I needed to read. So I was kind of breaking up between reading art books and reading a little bit of Crown of Midnight. And it was just so, so good. Now, some people might think that Throne of Glass is the sequel, but I didn't read Assassin's Blade first. Mainly because when I started the Throne of Glass series, I didn't know the order that people were reading it in. And when I went to look it up, I had already read Throne of Glass. But then I read that some people read the Assassin's Blade third. So that'll be the next book I read, because I'm going to be one of those people reading the Assassin's Blade third, because I've already read Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. So Assassin's Blade will be the next one I read. But I just find her writing so, so good. It has been closed door. You haven't been in the bedroom with him in any scenes. So I don't know if this is her. When I first started reading it, people were saying that this was her YA series. But I don't know how it is as you go along in the books. But Because I know that some of her other books, like the Akatar books, those are not clean. And I know that Crescent City, they said those aren't clean either. So, but nobody's ever talked about Throne of Glass being not clean. So I don't know. I have to just go as I'm reading it. But that's definitely the best sequel I've read so far, because I haven't read many sequels this year so far. So I have to go with that one. But I mean, indie. If we're talking, now that I think about it, if we're talking mainstream author, I would say Sarah J. Maas. If we're talking indie thought author, I'm gonna say Jen Atkinson, because I've been reading her Miles Bailey series, and Miles Bailey. That's the recent book. I've been reading her Bailey Brothers series, and I've read the third book in the series, which it should. I think it's already out by now. But it's called Miles Bailey Gets Down on One Knee, and Jenna Atkinson, just so good. She writes so good. The first book I read in the series was Owen Bailey Needs Advice, and there's one before that. I forget the name of it, but I believe I've read both of those earlier this year, and they were both freaking amazing. So if you're looking for an indie author, clean, sweet, clean reads. I don't even say closed door, because I think closed door is when they go to the bedroom and you're not in there with them. So it's not really closed door at all. It's just a sweet, clean read, which just kisses, but so good. The Miles Bailey one was just, I loved it, because it was marriage of convenience, and I love fake dating or marriage of convenience. Just those tropes alone are my favorite. So that would be my favorite. My favorite sequel I've read so far, indie version. A new release you haven't read yet, but you want to. There's, I have so many. There's so many others. If we're talking traditional author, a new release that is out that I haven't read yet, but I really want to, is the new Abby Jimenez book, which I do have on my shelf. But like I said, I didn't go through and collect these books. But I think it's called Just for the Summer. I'll pop up pictures here next to me so you can see. But Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. It's a newer book that just came out, and I haven't read it yet. But I'm so excited to read it. And I've been in such like a summery book mood. So maybe I'll read that. I also just received a book from book lover Amanda. She sent me a book for my birthday. Thank you so much, Amanda, by the way, if you're watching this. I was so surprised. My son opened that book for me and then gave it to me, and then he threw the packaging away, and I was like, wait a second, I didn't order this book. So I had to make him go get the package out of the trash so I could look inside to see if there was like a gift receipt or a note or something inside. And there was a note inside, and it was from book lover Amanda. So thank you so much, Amanda, for that. I'm so excited. So that's Denise Hunter, Love Unwritten, I think it's called. That's also a newer book that just came out this year. But that is a newer book that came out this year that I do really want to read, because it's a beach read, and I'm like kind of in the mood for my beach reads right now. I've been wanting to read all the beach reads. I've even been thinking about watching all of like my beachier shows. Like I'm thinking about restarting just like The Summer I Turned Pretty, rewatching those 2 seasons, because I just love the beach. I'm feeling all the beach feels right now. But that's like an indie author. I also have Tony Shiloh's A Run at Love. That one I need to read and review. I have Loyally Luke by Pepper Basham that I'm excited about to read, that I also need to read to review. But there's just so many, and I find myself more excited by indie authors than by mainstream authors at this point, because you just don't know with the mainstream authors the content, I wish I had like content warnings at the beginning of the book, so you could, when you're looking at a regular bookstore and you're looking at these romance books, they would tell you the content in the beginning, so you would know whether you want to buy this book or not to have on your shelf. But anyways, those are all the newer releases that I am wanting to get to, and hopefully I can get to them. It's just I check out too many books, so then I'm like running after trying to keep up with all the books I'm checking out, and then I'm trying to keep up with all the ARC books that I keep on requesting because I don't know, I'm a glutton for punishment. And there's so many ARC books that I've been requesting of newer books that I really want to read that sound so good. So yeah, and that's mainly where I started discovering so many indie authors, and from like channels like Book Lover Amanda. I've discovered so many indie authors from just watching her video with Sweet Clean Reads, and it's just been so fun. It says the most anticipated release for the second half of the year is the next question. Oh, I am really anticipating a novel, love story by Ashley Poston. I forgot about that. That comes out later this year. I loved all of Ashley Poston's books so far. I think they've been so good. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a novel love story by Ashley Poston. I'm looking forward to the Nightmare Virus by Nadine Brandis. It's by the same writer who did The Wistress, and I really loved The Wistress, so I'm looking forward to that. I already have it pre-ordered so I can get it. I'm definitely anticipating the release of Savannah Scott's Resorting to Romance, I think it's called, is the next book in her series, and she has another one that's coming out after that I'm looking forward to. I love Savannah Scott's books, so I'm just gonna not shout out the books that I'm looking forward to, but maybe from authors, new releases I'm looking forward to. So definitely on my radar for indie authors, I'm looking forward to new releases from Jen Atkinson, Savannah Scott, Michelle Angus, Drew Taylor. I love her books, so I'm looking forward to any releases that she has in the second half of the year. I just wanted to give a shout out to any indie authors because I feel like not enough people talk about indie authors here on BookTube, especially like mainstream BookTube. Not enough people are talking about indie authors, and sometimes indie authors be writing better than these mainstream authors because they be writing the sweet clean reads that have just as much heart and depth to them as these mainstream authors. Looking forward to Madeline Smith. She wrote Winning My Queen, so I am looking forward to, she's writing a sequel right now. She's also in the process of writing, I don't know when these books are coming out though, but I know she's in the process of writing a novella that's going to be coming out soon, and she's in the process of writing a fantasy series, which I'm really looking forward to. Those are probably the authors and stuff that I'm most looking forward to, sequels of all their books coming this year. It's so many good books. If I forgot any authors, I'm sorry. Oh, Jessica Flory, she does fantasy books, and I know she learned under Brandon Sanderson, and I do love her fantasy books. I read God War, and I can't remember the name of her it's the prequel to her series, and I can't remember the name of the series, but she has a second book that's coming out later this year that I'm looking forward to. I need to read it. Biggest surprise. I have to put this as my biggest surprise. I did not think that this is the first historical fiction book I've ever read, and I didn't think I would like historical fiction. That's why I've never read historical fiction. I thought, this is going to be boring. I'm going to be bored. I'm going to feel like I'm in history class again. No. I don't know if it's just something that happens when you get older and you're just your eyes are more open than when you're in school. I feel like when you're in school, you don't think about things like this, and you're just like, oh, I gotta learn about this. But when you're older, it's just these things impact you more. So this is definitely my biggest surprise of the year, my biggest 6-star of the year. So, you know what? I just thought of some other authors. The other authors for new releases that I'm looking forward to. Emma St. Clair has some new releases that I'm looking forward to. I think she's doing more books than the hockey series that she started. Her and I think it's Jenny Proctor is the other author. So I'm definitely looking forward to them. They wrote a sweet, clean hockey romance series together. Chef's Kiss. That is you like all hockey series, even if you don't like hockey romance, Instead of reading the other hockey romances, I think this is the best sweet, clean hockey romance I've read from them. They have Romancing the Grump and these other books I can't remember, but I remember seeing that she was talking about she's going to have a new release. I'm so excited because I just got on her ARC team. I put in an application, and I was so excited to be accepted onto her ARC team. So I'm so excited to learn about that book and to read it and to talk to you guys, shout it out. Hi guys, so I'm sitting here right now editing for the mid-year freakout tag, and I realized that I skipped over a question. I didn't go over the question of biggest disappointment of the year. I went through like my biggest surprise of the year, but I didn't talk about how my biggest disappointment of the year was. So I'm gonna pop up the picture here for it, but because I don't feel like going and getting my copy, and I do have an actual copy of this book because it was raved about through the Christian YouTubers here on BookTube, and that is Dear Henry, Love Edith. And I don't have as many problems with it as some people were talking about with it. I thought it was really cute, really quirky, but if I'm saying I loved the love notes writing between the characters, but I wish there was more of that. I haven't even finished the book, let's put it that way. I'm about halfway through the book. They've already stopped with the writing letters to each other, and now they're just pretty much lying to each other. Like, they both know, I'm at the point where they both know who they are in the book, and they're just not telling each other. And it's just, I wanted more of that letter writing, and I feel like that ended too early for me. So I was so anticipating this book because the way that they make it sound, it makes it sound so good. It's called Dear Henry, Love Edith because Edith needs a place to stay. Henry has a room open looking for a roommate, and of course each other thinks that they're an elderly person because they haven't seen each other, and of course their names Henry and Edith are more like, sounds like more elderly names. So they both think each other is like older, and they don't know because they've been missing each other the entire time they've been living together. So they've just been writing notes back and forth. And in the meantime, though, Henry's been seeing this woman around town that he's been attracted to. Yet he's in a relationship with somebody else. Sounds like somebody famous, but it sounds like neither one of them want to be in that relationship. But still, he's like, this is the girl for me, and he's just seen her around town. But I think it was just, I wanted more of the letter writing back and forth, and that ended too fast for me. I do love, like, this little small town with the quirky characters and all the shenanigans that's going on. It definitely reminds me of Gilmore Girls, the little town with the quirky, and the shenanigans where just some of the craziest stuff is happening in it. Reminds me of Kirk in Gilmore Girls, because he was always doing something wild and crazy in that show. But I wanted more from the book, and it is Christian fiction, and I just don't know. I don't remember. I haven't read the whole book entirely, of course, but I don't remember them really talking about God or praying or anything like that I would think would be in Christian fiction. I mean, I thought it needed more of that, but I need to finish the book and see, because I really haven't finished the book to see how it ends. But yeah, that's definitely my biggest disappointment of this year, because I thought it was going to be so good, and I just wanted more of the back and forth letter writing before they found out who each other was. So, that's all. But yeah, back to Betsy of the past and the rest of the video. Okay, so it says, favorite new author or debut or new to you. Favorite new author. I'm going to go ahead and shout out two. And I wish I had the other book to hold up to you guys. But favorite new author, Madeline Smith. And I hope she's watching this, but Madeline Smith is definitely, I absolutely love this. This is a debut novel. This does not read like a debut novel to me. This is just so funny. In case you didn't know, Winning My Queen, and it's in the Bolts of Love series, and she's doing another one. I can't wait. But Winning My Queen is a Cars rom-com retelling. Yep, Disney Pixar Cars. Turn the cars into characters. We got Mr. McQueen here, and we got Sally over here. And there's even characters like Hudson and everything. So take the Cars movie, turn it into a rom-com. She's a soccer coach and a nurse at the high school. And he is trying to escape his life in Hollywood, and he's driving too fast on the road. Sounds familiar? Remember in the Cars when he's driving too fast on the road and he essentially crashes in this town? That's what happens with him. He's driving his red Corvette too fast, crashes into the cow, gets in a bad accident, doesn't remember who he is, gets stuck in this small town of Bolts, Oregon. City of Bolts. And yeah. And from then he stays in the town. He ends up staying in her house. Her name is Raina. He ends up staying in Raina's house, trying to regain his memories back. And yep, it is so good. If you haven't read it, you must read this book. It has just some light faith elements in it too, which just she did so seamlessly of weaving it in there, and I just love it. And I got the signed book from her because I had to. It was her first book, and I needed to. And I'm probably gonna buy all signed books from her because she's just the sweetest. And I will forever shout her books from the rooftops. But yeah, this is my new favorite author that I've discovered this year. But I have so many. I feel like this year was my discovery of indie authors. So it was my favorite discovery, my favorite debut novel. Coming for like rom-coms, coming from behind it, we have Miss Jessica Flory. I loved her. I read The God Heist this year, and that was it was a little novella fantasy, but it was so good. I need to read her other, I think it's Oceans of Sand. I also loved Emma St. Clair's A Groom of One's Own. That was part of the Appy's hockey series that they did with Jenny Proctor. That was also another one. That was like the first one I've read by her. So good. Needless to say, after I read that book, I went and bought all of the books in the Appy series, and I'll have to put a picture of the Appy series up here for you. And they are writing another book in the series, so I'm very excited. Very excited for the next release. That was so good. I actually discovered Savannah Scott this year in her Love Trippin' series. Her Love Trippin' series. I'll put that picture up here too. Really enjoy her Love Trippin' series. Then we have Jen Atkinson, and she has her Bailey Brothers series. That was it's a new to me author, but it's not a debut. Definitely for a debut author is Madeline Smith. She definitely was an author that just released that book, and she's new this year, and I think she's one that you should watch out for because she's just so good. And if you're not following her, you have to go follow her. She has 2 different pages, one where she like reviews books, and then she has like an author's page, and both pages are so good. She does great reviews too. Her little reels that she does some funny reels. They're just so good. So Madeline Smith, favorite new author, definitely. Newest fictional crush. I don't really get fictional crushes. So, I mean, I wish I could remember his name, but the guy in A Groom of One's Own, which he actually, and people don't like main characters, but look, he has blonde hair. Look how cute that book is. So, it is A Groom of Eli Hopkins. And it's a groom of one's own. Eli Hopkins was probably my favorite one. Because there was this quote in here, and I don't think I have it here. Oh, here, it's the quote that he says that makes it. He says, "But whose name will be on the back of my jersey?" His face darkens, and it only makes me push more. Maybe Van. He's a fun guy. Eli's heated look turns molten, and he shakes his head slowly. Mine, he says firmly, his voice wrapping like a fist around my heart. You can only wear my name. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why he is the fictional crush. Eli Hopkins will forever have my heart because of that. I was like, ah, I squealed when I read that part in the book. So if you haven't read A Groom of One's Own, let that quote be a testament to the fact that you need to read it. It might be a sweet, clean read, and it doesn't. It's just kissing. There's no bedroom scenes in this book. But some of the quotes make me think of, like, authors that you would see doing spicy romance books, you know? You would think you would only see quotes like that in the spicy romance books, but no. They're in the sweet, clean books, too. So you can find some really good books. That was like one of the quotes that I highlighted in the book when I was reading it, and there were so many that I highlighted in that book. So, next is a book that made you cry. There's so many, but this is the most recent book that made me cry. There was just some very sad parts, some very impactful parts of this book. So, like I said, there's just some sad parts, some people die in here that you kind of get attached to that you really love. And then there's the end part when he's reading, there's the end part where he's reading papers where somebody was reporting on his whole family. He's reading the reports and finding out, like, the truth of what was going on there. And I end up tearing up at that part because he found out the truth about his family and his sister, and it was just sad, really sad. But it's so eye-opening. Even if you don't like sad books, you have to read this because it is so eye-opening. I feel like everybody should be reading that book. Hi guys, so Editing Betsy is back again, and I realized when I put, like, the saddest book I've read this year, there's been books that I've cried more to. Like that one I teared up to, I Must Betray You, to some of the things that happened. But then there's been books, especially one that I just finished recently, that I feel like has to be mentioned here, that I absolutely sobbed to. And I just finished reading this the other day. I could not put this book down. It took me, I guess because I kept getting distracted in the beginning to get into it, but once I got to chapter 5 and kept reading on, this was so good. It's kind of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but it's a teacher assistant. I think she's kindergarten. It's an elementary teacher assistant who works at a school. There's this kid in school who has lost his parents. They OD'd. And before that, he was even being neglected, and she was there for him at school, and she ends up just giving this child the love that he's not getting at home. He gets it at school from her. And then when his parents eventually OD and pass away, he lives with her for a whole week while they're looking for, I guess, family or foster family to have. And he doesn't want to leave her. He wants to stay with her. She wants to adopt him, but she's just a teacher's assistant. And she doesn't have the money to have a car or even her own place. She has roommates, so she's not living alone. So, of course, that doesn't look like a stable environment for a child, so they won't let her adopt him until she has, like, a place of her own and her own car and all of that. And she's been pretty much doing everything to try and save up for it. And there's just a part in this book, and that was just so heartbreaking, that has to do with all of that, that I outright just was like, no. And I just stopped and I was sobbing for like at least a couple minutes because I was just so into the story that it felt like it was happening in real life. And that's when you know you're reading a good book, when you're reading the story and it feels like it's something that's happening in real life and you're seeing it happen to like someone that you love, and that is why you're like absolutely crying over it. So I cannot go away from this question without adding this book to it because I absolutely sobbed in this book. And it is definitely a must read. It does have some language in it, but that's it. It's not as bad as, say, the last book I read with language in it, which was Funny Story by Emily Henry. It's not like that, but it does have some language in it, and it is just a whimsical, magical story. I just loved it. It's so good. If you love books, if you liked Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I'm talking about the old 1971 movie with Gene Wilder in it, if you liked that movie, then you will love this book. And while you're reading it, you'll see why there's those comparisons. There's even some mentions of Narnia and Harry Potter in this book. So I definitely feel like this is a book everyone should read. I'm absolutely checked this out from the library, but now I'm absolutely going to buy the book to have on my shelf, mainly so I can reread it, because it's definitely going to be a book I want to reread. I want to highlight some of the quotes in here, and it was just so good. Yeah. So I couldn't go away from this video without mentioning that. So go ahead, back to Betsy of the Past again. I don't think I'm going to be interrupting you anymore. So, but that's definitely a book that made me cry. A book that made you happy. I'm going to have to go with, I'll go ahead and go with this one. This one made me ridiculously happy. I was laughing at everything in this book. It made me smile every time there was like a little Cars reference in the book. I was like, I see what you were doing there, Madeline. Because having a son, I've watched the Cars movies a lot of times. So even having nephews, I've watched it a lot because one of my nephews used to be a big fan of Cars when he was younger. So it was just, this one made me ridiculously happy. I was smiling at all the quotes. Such a good book. Oh, will forever have a place in my heart. I'm never going to forget this one. Putting her back where she belongs. So that one's definitely a book that made me happy. Also, A Groom of One's Own by Emma St. Clair. There was so much laughing and squealing and happiness while I was reading that book too. And also Miles Bailey from Jen Atkinson. That one made me happy too. Lots of squealing in that book while I was reading it. And Catch a Wave by Savannah Scott. So much good banter in that book. There's just so many. It's so many books I don't even know. Then there's For Better or For Worse. For Better, For Worse, I did actually get this, and I got it signed too. It was an ARC book I read, and it came with some stickers. But this is by Dana LeCeminant. I hope I'm saying that right. But let me just say, Prince Harry. And that's all I need. That's all I need to say. Let me read you the first line in the book. That is like, the stickers are falling out. So, and here is Prince Harry. He's a little picture right here. So I'm going to read you the first little paragraph, and I'll tell you the reason why this book made me happy. It's not every day you're late to work because a llama got himself stuck in a pool. Except this isn't the first time this has happened. So that whole everyday thing is becoming more and more likely. And while the llama is perfectly fine if a little waterlogged, I'm at the end of my rope as I storm into the bakery smelling of wet camlid. Not a good smell if you're curious. So that's like the first paragraph in the book. Absolutely love this book. This whole series is making me so happy because we also have Michelle Angus. I just finished reading that one. And that was Crush Landed. It was so good too. And this one has llama in it. That one has a sea turtle in it. And Crush. Every time I say Crush Landed, it makes me think of Crush from Finding Nemo. So, and that one made me so happy too. So many of these indie authors just make such good books, and if you aren't reading them, you need to be. That's all I have to say about that. So, the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Okay, I had to pull them off my shelf. So there's actually 2 books, and I need to get the second book in the series, but I haven't found it yet. I need to find it. But we have, this is the Daughter of the Pirate King series, I guess. I don't know what the name of the series is, but it's called Daughter of the Pirate King. And this is the first book, and this is the second book in the series. And I got these from Book Outlet. Found these on Book Outlet. Forget this. $5.99. They were having a fiction book sale, and I think it's still going on. Found these for $5.99. Look how beautiful. I just love, and I don't usually buy hardback, but I bought hardback in this case because of how beautiful it is. Not only that, but look at this. Look at has the stencil, the sprayed edges. Look at these sprayed edges. How beautiful is that? Just so beautiful. Look at the inside page. Even the book itself has I think it looks so beautiful. So yeah, these are definitely the most beautiful books that I've purchased this year, and they were only $5.99 on Book Outlet. So if you're not keeping up with Book Outlet, you should keep watching Book Outlet because they have some really good books there. Occasionally you can find the ones that have the sprayed edges and just special editions. Normally I don't do hardbacks. I had the first and second book in paperback, and I traded them in to get these special, because I got these special editions, and I was like, okay. And I even traded in the second book because I'm going to be on the lookout for the second book just so I can add it to my series. They did have it at one time for $5.99 on Book Outlet's website, but I thought I checked out and I didn't. So I lost out on getting the second book, but I'm going to keep an eye on it, and hopefully they'll restock the second book in the series. I'm praying that they do so I can pick it up because I just need to have them all. And I picked up these books after seeing Hannah from the Teacher's TBR talk about these special editions and just how beautiful they are. I love sprayed edges. So that's definitely the most beautiful books that I've bought this year. I haven't read them. I need to read them. But they look beautiful on my shelf. That's all that matters. Even the spines look beautiful on the shelf. So, I don't know. I just love them. And the last question in this tag, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you. Let me just show you. How about that? Well, I haven't given feedback on NetGalley, but here's the real list. And the sad part is that there's another page. There's page 2. So that tells you how many books I have left to read this year. Some of them I need to give feedback. I haven't given feedback on yet. But I have a lot of books. I have a lot of books I need to read. I need to finish. One by One by Frida McFadden I've already read. I just need to post a review. And there's a lot of summer books in here. So I need to go through and read all my summary books that are in there. But that is the last question I had. Books I needed to read this year. I took it as not like what's on my TBR, but ARC books that I need to read because I need to stop. I think I'm going to have to cut myself from requesting books on NetGalley until I can get through all the books I have on NetGalley I need to read because there's so many. Now, I have to be honest, I prioritize the books that I need to read for the authors on Instagram over my NetGalley books. I think it's just because I personally requested them on Instagram. And some of them are just authors that asked me to review their books, or if I wanted to review their books, and they would give me like a little synopsis, and if I was interested in reviewing it, and I would say yes based on, well, it sounds like a good book. There's just so many good books out there, and I just want to read them all. I can't help it. So anyways, that is the mid-year book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do say that if you have a YouTube, but you're watching this and you have a YouTube channel, I encourage you, if you want to do this mid-year book tag, to go do it. I would definitely put the questions in the comments in the description box down below, so y'all can do this video too if you want to. If you want to just put it in the comments too, you can put in the comments some answers to some of these questions. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up down below. And if you're not yet subscribed, I would greatly appreciate it if you consider subscribing to my channel. And next to the subscribe button is the bell. You can ring that to be notified of all my future uploads. And I hope you guys are having a great day, night, weekend, whenever it is you're watching this. And I'll see you guys next time. And don't forget, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Bye, guys.